Welcome to this new episode of Biology of Meaning. Today I'm talking about a universal and normalized symptom, possibly the least understood of our time: fatigue. We live in an exhausted society. People are tired when they wake up. Tired of production. Emotionally tired. Mentally tired. Tired of maintaining impossible roles, demands, and paces. But fatigue isn't always an enemy. The body's message is an attempt to protect us. From the perspective of the biology of meaning and the Pharaoh model, the symptom isn't a failure. It's a valuable ally that should be understood as adaptation, regulation, and a biological message. In the classic biomedical paradigm, fatigue is often addressed as something that must be eliminated quickly: coffee, stimulants, supplements, productivity. But from the perspective of the biology of meaning, inspired by the contributions of Gerd Hamer, the question changes profoundly. Why is the body generating the state? Because the organism doesn't function randomly. Often, exhaustion forces us to stop. The body reduces energy when it perceives that the system is overloaded, threatened, or dysregulated. In certain cases, exhaustion can function as a protective mechanism, a reduction in activity to conserve resources, a response to prolonged stress, a consequence of sustained hyperactivation, and an attempt at biological recovery. The problem arises when culture interprets all tiredness as weakness. We have a global society in chronic and permanently active sympathetic nervous. At Pharaoh, we understand that a large part of the population lives in permanent hyperactivation: constant demands, multitasking, hyperconnectivity, economic anxiety, digital overstimulation, lack of real rest, emotional disconnection, wages that are not enough to live on, barely enough to survive, precarious jobs, and in inhumane conditions. The nervous system never fully exits its state of alert. The body survives, but it stops regenerating. We live in an exhausted society. Yes, we live in an exhausted society. But sometimes, when we look at people's faces, a troubling question arises. Is it simply tiredness, or are we witnessing a profound existential despair? We see people who continue functioning, working, and producing, but who inwardly feel disconnected, empty, or without purpose. At Pharaoh, tiredness isn't always interpreted solely as a lack of energy. In many cases, it can become the physical manifestation of a life lived for too long disconnected from oneself. It's shameful to have only two 15-minute breaks in an 8-hour workday. Continuous hyperproductivity contradicts basic biological needs proven by science. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, many people live identified with a social mask of efficiency. They cannot rest because they feel they must constantly prove their worth or are pressured to be productive without the right to rest or get sick. Then profound exhaustion arises. The soul grows weary of maintaining an identity disconnected from its inner truth. A society that denies pauses to the body and mind ends up exhausting the soul as well. In Ken Wilber's terms, contemporary consciousness has become trapped in doing and performance, forgetting the most important aspect of existence: being. Contact with inner life, contemplation, silence, meaning, and spirituality has been lost. A culture that only produces ends up becoming existentially empty. From the perspective of traditional Chinese medicine, fatigue can be related to qi deficiency, jing depletion, spleen weakness, and shun overload. Excessive worry, control, and activity consume vital energy. The body cries out for rest, but culture demands continuation, and the soul withers. Taoism teaches that life needs alternation, activity and rest, yang and yin. Our society glorifies excess yang, doing, competing, accelerating. But no living system can sustain perpetual expansion. When human beings disrupt the natural balance, the body forces them to stop. Fatigue sometimes is not failure. It is an intelligent biological limit that appears to sustain life. Understanding the biological meaning of fatigue does not mean rejecting medical studies or abandoning clinical evaluations. Exhaustion can have multiple causes, and in the Pharaoh model, we integrate them. Pharaoh proposes integration, not replacement. The Pharaoh approach seeks to restore regulation and purpose. 1. Listen to your body instead of silencing it. The symptom ceases to be the enemy. The question changes. What part of my life is exhausting me? 2. Regulate the nervous system with real rest, restorative sleep, conscious and abdominal breathing, reducing overstimulation, and increasing physical and emotional connection. 3. Reevaluate demands and identity. Many people aren't tired simply from working too much. They are tired of not being able to be themselves. 4. Rebuild existential meaning. Survival is not enough. Human beings need inner coherence. They need social respect for their unique characteristics. They need material resources to support their right to live with dignity. 5. Reclaim human rhythms. Biology has limits. We are not machines. Humanization. A society that normalizes constant exhaustion ends up making its members sick and killing them. Humanizing health means ceasing to treat the body as a performance tool and recognizing it once again as a living expression of the person. Collective exhaustion is not only an individual problem, it is also a cultural symptom. The lack of awareness and intelligence in policies that disregard scientific evidence comes at a very high price. It is paid for with negative energies, illness, accidents, and premature deaths. Pharaoh learning. Sometimes the body becomes exhausted because the life we sustain has ceased to be habitable. Listening to fatigue doesn't always mean giving up. Sometimes it means beginning to live differently. Pharaoh phrase. The body tires when the soul has been merely surviving for too long and behind much modern fatigue. There is a humanity exhausted from surviving itself. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like the video. Comment with where you're watching from, if you're a healthcare professional, and tell me if you'd like to train as a Pharaoh coach. Share this video to help create collective awareness. Study with ESSI, the Pharaoh Integral Method. Learn science with awareness. Because in health, knowledge isn't neutral. It's vital. And if you'd like to work on your emotional symptoms or suffering processes from the Pharaoh holistic perspective, you can contact me to schedule online Pharaoh sessions. See you in the next episode.